We begin the news in Nigeria's South, where Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborewori has expressed outrage over the brutal attack on military personnel in Okoma community. In a strongly worded statement, Governor Oborewori condemned the killings, calling them unprovoked and alien to the culture of Deltans. The governor extended his deepest condolences to the families of the slain soldiers, the Nigerian Army, and the armed forces as a whole. The governor urged Delta residents to remain calm and law-abiding, assuring them that the state will continue to prioritize the safety and securities of citizens. In the meantime, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, had directed immediate investigation and arrest of those involved in the heinous crime. Earlier, we were joined on the news by the Special Assistant to the Governor of Delta State on Civic Engagement and Civil Society, Rex Emojite Anegoro.
As one who has been in the civil society space, I've been receiving calls and receiving information from left, right, and center. And we have been seeing reports also on online as to what could have triggered this. People are of the belief that there are forces beyond the normal that are propelling this conflict. For example, people from a Okoloba community believe that this is an invasion of their community, that people have always wanted them to be sacked from the community. They believe that people believe that they are settlers and they are tenants, and as such, they must leave that particular place. We have heard people say that that's one of the reasons, and that they don't want the Okoma people to remain there. The Okoma people, on the other hand, are saying, no, we have been together for years. We cannot sack our brothers, but they believe that some people are not comfortable with the peace in the area. And because they're not comfortable with the peace in the area and the peace accord, they feast on a conflict, and therefore could have escalated or led to this level of conflict. Because despite the land disputes, like the governor has said, in these particular areas, this kind of conflict have not risen over the years. So why now? What has prompted it now? Who are the provocateurs of this present conflict?
Meanwhile, reactions have continued to trail the unprovoked killing of officers and soldiers attached to the 63 Brigade at Okoma community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State, South Nigeria. This time around, it is coming from the Ovie of Robo Kingdom. His Royal Majesty Clement Ikolo Urupe I, whose kingdom covers Okoma community. Speaking to newsmen, the monarch described the act as unpatriotic and called for a full-scale investigation into the matter.
Very, very sad time, and my heart is really saddened. You know, these military men, they are people who are there to protect our nation. They should be held in high esteem. They are there to protect us from people who are there to invade and or to commit heinous crimes. It is very sad that these same people who are there to protect us, who are one of us, that this kind of heinous crime will be carried out and they will be killed in the process. It is very, very sad. It is disheartening. I totally condemn it. It is unacceptable. And to crown it up, one of them who's been killed in the process is somebody who put in all he could at the time of my presentation of staff of office sometime in November last year. He was very supportive. He stood firmly by me.
Also responding to the Dastardly Act is President Bola Tinubu, who said the killers of Nigerian Army personnel who were on a peace mission in Delta State will not go unpunished. The president, who made this known in a statement he personally signed on Sunday, extended profound condolences to the families of the soldiers, their colleagues, and their loved ones. The president said that the Delta killings demonstrate the dangers faced by Nigerian servicemen and women on the line of duty. He asserted that as a nation, Nigerians must constantly remember and honor all those who have paid the ultimate price to keep the country safe, strong, and united. Now, joining me to discuss this is News Central's correspondent in Delta State, Austin Azu. Austin Azu, thank you so much for joining us. Now, the gallant military personnel who were killed in Delta State were said to be responding to a distress call during the clash between Okoma and Okoloba communities, and they were attempting to also restore calm. Any reason as to why they were gruesomely killed?
Good evening, welcome. As a matter of fact, we left Asaba this afternoon, heading for where the incident took place, which happens to be a former community in Village South. But currently, we are not too far from the community, about 45 minutes drive away from here to the community. We would have been in the community and get more information about this, but due to the security, safety of us as journalists, we need to take permission and approval from the military personnel. However, we are unable to get that approval now, so we are in a community that's not too far away from where the incident took place. But so far, what we gathered so far, the incident has happened, and there are heavy presence of security personnel, especially the Navy and other sister agencies of the military. They are condoned of that area, and that area happens to be one of the red zones at the moment. So none can actually access that place as we speak now. But the neighboring community that we are now is very peaceful. Activities of the residents of the community are ongoing. So relatively, this place has not been affected.
Okay, so we know that investigations are ongoing, Austin, but then I'd like you to confirm if the soldiers were actually attacked by youths of these communities, or maybe it was a criminal gang hiding other guys to unleash the mayhem on the forces.
Well, from the information we gathered so far, defense headquarters have issued a statement, and we believe the statement issued by the defense headquarters is accurate. And from what we gathered so far, it was on a peace mission. Of course, there have been loggerheads over some topics of dispute, especially on land disputes, for the past few years. And the state government has a white paper already, and the panel of inquiry has been set up to resolve that particular issue. So, but most of us in this area, precisely the residents of the area, were quite surprised to have gotten that, alert. So I don't really know what happened. I believe those who live in the community, residents of the community, should be able to tell us the real state of things, because they are the ones who live there. They are the ones who understand the process of how this issue has been over the years. But so far, I believe the army were attacked, they were killed in that process, so which was totally wrong, and everyone has condemned it, and that is very good.
Okay, so we also heard, Austin, yeah, we also heard that the troops were on a mission to rescue the son of a prominent figure in the state who was kidnapped before they actually met their tragic end. Is there any truth to that? Any newsman of that?
From the reports we gathered so far, on a peace mission. So I believe that peace mission entails the land dispute issues they have had over the years. So if there to be a kidnap issue, I don't think the defense headquarters would have issued that statement, that they would have told us that yes, they were going on a rescue mission. But like I said earlier on, a peace mission involves the army and other persons who happens to have gone to the community to go and seek the presence of the PG and others. So in attempt to get those persons, I think they had a reprisal. So what we gather, that they had a reprisal. So that reprisal led to the exchange of gunwell that led to the death of the soldiers and the major.
Okay, Austin Azo, thank you so much. We hope that you stay on that matter even as we continue to get details from you. But then thank you so much for being resourceful.
Most welcome.
All right, we move on now. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has called for the immediate reinstatement of Senator Ningi, who was suspended from the Senate for alleging lawmakers padded the 2024 budget. Ningi, representing Bauchi Central, claimed a discrepancy of 3.7 trillion naira between the approved budget and the one being implemented, which led to his 3-month suspension. In a statement, Serap considers Nengi a whistleblower and his actions a positive act of good citizenship. The group stressed that suspending Ningi discourages future whistleblowing and undermines transparency. The organization urged the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to reinstate Senator Ningi and refer the pardon allegations to anti-corruption agencies for investigation. Serap argues that investigating the pardon claims and reforming the budget process would rebuild public trust in the Senate. And also, civil society organizations and human rights lawyers have called on the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to uphold Nigeria's integrity by refraining from engaging in political skirmishes that undermine President Bola Tinubu's anti-corruption agenda. In a press conference held in Abuja on Sunday, Barrister Kayode Budujuri, speaking on behalf of over 100 CSOs under the Committee of the Defense of Democracy and Rule of Law, emphasized the need for the EFCC to avoid being manipulated into pursuing political vendetta. Specifically, the group criticized the handling of corruption allegations against former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, labeling it as a blatant case of political persecution orchestrated by his rivals.
In the hands of every disgruntled politician seeking political retribution against political opponents or perceived political enemies. In every regime of law enforcement, the fundamental elements of consideration is the rule of law. Any attempt to jettison the respect for the rule of law as a guiding principle of law enforcement is tantamount to lawlessness and the promotion of anarchy, which is antithetical to civilized democratic norms. It is noticeable that the way the EFCC handles some of its allegations and trials of alleged corruption smacks of political hatchet job. For instance, the way it is handling the current corruption allegations against the immediate past governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Alhaji Yahaya Bello, is becoming a clear political witch hunt. First, the EFCC is attempting to stand the rule of law on its head by violating a clear-cut order that is yet to be vacated by a higher court. The High Court of Justice, Lokoja Division, has given a restraining order to EFCC to stay any action, either to arrest, prosecute, persecute the former governor or any of his appointees pending the hearing and determination of the substantive suit originating motion for the enforcement of his fundamental rights. The EFCC may not agree with that order, but it cannot violate it. The court to which their amended charges have been taken to is a court of coordinate jurisdiction, not a superior court. The only option legally available to the Commission is to approach a higher court to vacate the subsisting order, and only after doing this successfully, it can go after the concerned individual.
But I'll tell you that the leadership of both the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, have directed their members across university and inter-university center campuses nationwide to withdraw services beginning from Monday, March 18, according to a memo signed by the National President of SANU, Mohammed Ibrahim, and the General Secretary of NASU, Peters Adeyemi, and addressed to the branches of the union dated Friday, March 15. The 7-day industrial action is in fulfillment of the earlier threat and ultimatum issued by the Nigerian government by the unions over the unpaid withheld salaries of their members. The unions blamed the Nigerian government for allowing the matter to degenerate, querying the justification for the payment of the withheld salaries of the members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, but decided to leave out their members. We now go on a short break on the news. We'll be back with more. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We tell you now that the Plateau State House of Assembly has been in a confused state since the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which removed 16 of the 24 members who belong to the PDP. News Central's Chizoba Ayonwe tells us more in this report.
The Plateau State House of Assembly has been a theater of some sort where intrigue and suspense have become major characteristics. From the tussle for leadership after its inauguration in June last year to the many cases challenging the outcome of the 2023 election, the House, made up of 16 PDP members, 7 APC, and 1 YPP member, did not find stability. Now, 4 months after the Court of Appeal sacked the PDP members, citing lack of party structure, and in their stead declared the APC candidates as duly elected. The new members are yet to be allowed into the chambers, even after receiving their certificates of return in November last year.
This is contempt of court and disobedience of court. If we do not obey the rules governing us, we are going into anarchy. So I expect that the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, or from whatever quarters is getting his directives, I think they should look at Plateau first.
For the Speaker of the House, who is also the youngest speaker in the Houses of Assembly in Nigeria, due process remains his watchword.
I'm acting on what I have received. That is the Federal High Court processes urging me to maintain status quo. I have not laid my eyes on any of the judgment. Neither have I laid my eyes on any communication from INEC communicating me that these are the new members of the assembly. So on a normal day, how do you expect me to start swaying the members if I have not been communicated appropriately?
There were rumors making the round that some police officers from the police headquarters had taken over security of the House of Assembly. But the spokesman of the Plateau State Police Command has this to say.
There is no special police team rolled out from anywhere for the purpose of coming to guard the State House of Assembly conference. That statement is not true. It is baseless, and it is being peddled by the enemies of the Nigerian police force on the plateau.
A few weeks ago, a group of youths from the PDP gathered at the entrance of the House of Assembly to stop the 16 APC members from gaining entrance into the Assembly complex. If democracy and status of the judiciary are anything to go by, then the question is, why is the court judgment being flouted? And for how much longer will the legislative support for the Plateau State government be sacrificed on the altar of partisanship? A question no one has been able to bring answers to. In Just for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
The Action Aid of Nigeria has raised an alarm over the rising insecurity in the country, which is now directly affecting women and children. The group, while reviewing the current state of women and children in Nigeria, says that this is being catalyzed by the hardship being faced by citizens, which has led to many women, especially in rural communities, losing their businesses. Amadin Uyi reports.
With Nigeria's inflation rates currently at 31.70, as stated by the nation's National Bureau of Statistics, the hardship being faced by citizens is at an all-time high. The Action Aid of Nigeria, which has an objective to reduce poverty across the country, says that women are mostly affected as economic and financial difficulties are now affecting their businesses.
Economic downturn has led to setbacks to the gains made by development partners in empowering women across Nigeria, with many women-owned businesses shutting down due to financial difficulties.
While speaking in Abuja during a session to review the challenges women and children face in the country, those present at this meeting say gender inequalities and hardship is rising as all aspects of their lives are now being affected.
You can wake up in the morning thinking of what you are going to put in the table for your children to eat. You will be thinking of your children's school fees. You'll be thinking of where are you going to start. Abinda gwamnati yake yi muna ba mu ji daɗi a karkarar Najeriya ba. Saboda wahala ya yi yawa muna mu mata. Mu kuma mata mu ne masu sha wahala gida. Mu ne yara, mu ne gida, in ba mata ba gida. Komai yanzu ya sauka muna cikin wahala. Komai ya zama sada. Abincin da muka saya da naira 200 za mu ci shi har kwana biyu da yaranmu.
They are calling on government to live up to its responsibilities, saying the current hardship is now increasing insecurity of women and girls, as crime rate is evidently on the rise.
According to a survey carried out by Asserting in Nigeria in some communities, to ascertain the weight of the current situation on women and children, most respondents said that the rate of crime, that is killings, stealing, and kidnapping, has increased.
For now, if you are inside your house, you are not secure. In your farm, you are not secure. Everywhere, even as we are here now, we are not secure. So we have to think of that one and know how to think of where are we going.
The Action Aid is also calling on citizens to collaborate through innovative ways to improve the lives of women and children in the country. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Let's also tell you that the Africa Youth Development Foundation has condemned the kidnapping of over 200 school children from Kuriga in Kaduna State, including another 15 from Sokoto State. The foundation also expressed worry over the frequent abduction of children from schools in the country, saying they are eroding the gains made in the nation's educational sector. Idong Joseph reports.
The kidnapping of over 280 school pupils in the Kuriga area of Kaduna State is the largest school abduction case in Nigeria. The incident, which occurred in Kaduna and Sokoto, represents the 17th attack on schools within a decade, which has raised concern of stakeholders. They said this is increasing the number of out-of-school children in the country and eroding the gains made in the educational sector.
Education is a building block of every society and a fundamental human right, as uneducated children can become willing tools in the hands of criminal and terrorist groups now and even in future.
With the whereabouts of the kidnapped children yet to be determined, many Nigerians say they want their rescue as quick as possible.
We cannot allow this to become another Chibok situation. AYGF calls upon all key stakeholders, both nationally and internationally, to intervene and secure the safe return of the kidnapped children.
We appeal to the security agencies to do everything possible, including the government of Kaduna State, to do everything possible to rescue and bring back these young ones and their teachers.
Stakeholders also urged the government to take steps in addressing the root causes of kidnapping in Nigerian schools.
AYGF advocates for increased resources and support for vulnerable communities like Chikum, after targeted by kidnappers, as well as every community where schools exist in Nigeria. Revamping the Safe School initiative. The government must revisit its commitment to this initiative.
They are calling on government to live up to its responsibilities and ensure kidnapping becomes a thing of the past. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The National Human Rights Commission has blamed the abduction of 286 students and teachers from 2 schools in Kaduna on the failure of the federal policing system in Nigeria. This was disclosed by the Commission's Executive Secretary, Anthony Ojukwu, in an interaction at a stakeholders dialogue on state police organized by the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center in Abuja. According to Ojukwu, such a disaster could have been averted if the nation had not prioritized the protection of the elite and affluent in the society at the expense of the masses. He further drummed up support for the introduction of state police to tackle banditry and other security challenges ravaging the country. Still talking security matters, stakeholders in Nigeria have called for reforms of the Nigeria police, saying citizens-centered policing must be the objective This was as they met in Abuja, where they rated the performance of the police low in terms of service delivery to the public, thereby calling for reforms that would meet the yearnings of the public. Amadin Uyi reports.
It was an appraisal of the state of policing in Nigeria with a focus on citizen-centered policing. This workshop, organized by the Clean Foundation, reviewed the conduct of police personnel in the country in the light of their obligations to the public.
While we're talking about policing, we must be mindful of the fact that it's the duty of the police to provide internal security. But what we have at the moment is the military being encouraged to provide internal security, which is not the right thing to do and it's not in the right direction.
Marginalized groups, including women, young persons and children, people with disabilities, as well as the poor and powerless, experience poor service, neglect, or even abuse at the hands of personnel of NPF that are meant to protect them. Such experiences, especially against women, are exacerbated by the larger societal gender stereotypes that create rigid ideas about the roles and expectations of men and women, which sadly are being reproduced by public institutions like the police in Nigeria.
Stakeholders say reforms are apt to improve policing in Nigeria, calling for efforts to ensure that the Nigeria police meets the yearnings of the public.
These realities erode public confidence and trust in NPF and calls for urgent measures. Rebuilding confidence and trust in the police will require several measures, including gender mainstreaming, gender responsiveness, gender transformative approach, and gender sensitivity.
We're pushing for a police that is effective and efficient, a police that will serve the purpose while we need to have police in place. And so this conversation is a large conversation, it's a big conversation, it's a conversation that all of us need to share our experiences and knowledge.
We must have a police sector driven that is human rights driven, and we must also interrogate the architecture, the security architecture that will place the police among the people, within the people, and serving the people and not just serving the ego of any other person.
With Nigeria grossly under-policed, security stakeholders are calling for reforms that can help the Nigeria police live up to its full responsibilities. They say there is a need to ensure that they provide adequate service to citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
In southwest Nigeria, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has directed that Ounje co-food markets will commence operations today, Sunday, across the state. The markets have been tasked with selling discounted food items across the 5 divisions of Lagos. The food items include rice, beans, garri, bread, eggs, tomatoes and pepper, among others, and they are to be sold at a 25% discount to residents. The Essentials Bettina Nwili reports.
Following the announcement by the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu that the Ounje Eko food market will begin sales of food items at discounted prices in the 5 divisions of the state today, Sunday, March 17. According to the governor, the Sunday Market initiative was aimed at cushioning the effect of the high cost of living in the country. Expectedly, Lagosians wasted no time in flooding the various locations to buy food items at friendly prices.
We have garri, we have eggs, we have onion, we have beans, we have rice, and we have pepper and tomatoes.
What delayed us today is due to the traffic of the block determinant bridge. They have to go through Maryland traffic, so the vendors came late. So the people that came to buy the market were really complaining. But we promised them next week they will get more better than this.
Governor Sanwo-Olu had stated that the food markets would operate exclusively on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. across 57 locations in the state. The first wasn't without its hitches, as some of the food vendors turned up late. For Lagosians who turned up to take advantage of the initiative, it was a welcomed development. However, some complained that the 25% discount was not significant enough.
Lagos is working and they are trying, but it's not yet enough. They have to put more effort. Like what they are offering us now, it won't go more than how many days? Only 5 kg, 5,325 for 5 kg. The price is a bit fair, but the quantity is not enough. How many days will we consume this?
Ọlọ́run ṣeun tó bá tiẹ̀ ń wà báyìí ó bẹ́tà ó sàn ju rárá lọ torí oúnjẹ ebi ń pa àwọn èèyàn nínú ìlú ní gbogbo ìlú ebi ń pa àwọn èèyàn ṣùgbọ́n eléyìí tán bá tiẹ̀ ṣe báyẹn tó kárí á tún dínkù.
We even thought being an elite area they won't respond so much. Even elites are here.
Against the reality of the current harsh economic situation, it is apparent that patronage of the Onje-Eko food market will steadily increase in the coming weeks and months. As such, the onus now lies with the government to fine-tune the process, make it as seamless as possible, and ensure the usual corruption that rubbishes government initiatives do not hamper this one. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
Now talking about internet disruption, submarine cable company Mainone says it may take up to 2 weeks to repair undersea cable cuts which disrupted internet services in Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and other West African and East African countries since on Thursday. The company said the cause of the network outage was as a result to a fault on the Mainone network. Preliminary findings and further investigations revealed that the fault occurred due to an external incident that resulted in a cut on the submarine cable system in the Atlantic Ocean offshore Cote d'Ivoire along the coast of West Africa. Meanwhile, the company in a new update said service has now been restored to some customers while work continues to restore all services. Earlier, we had Theophilus Akatugba, who is, of course, a public affairs analyst and commentator, and he spoke to us more about this.
Disruptions are really, really far-reaching and affecting every facet of society because we have become very virtual. We've been very internet-reliant in all of our activities across board, and that has really, really affected lives. So I do not think we should, at this point, give in to this conspiracy theory. And it affects life in no small measure. Banks, financial transactions, business transactions, e-commerce, and all the e-commerce activities across the West African sub-region and even in Central Africa has been affected massively. In fact, in the last 3 days, a lot of people have attempted to make transfers. I particularly have attempted to make payment for the activators of a website domain name. And that payment did not arrive at the destination, and that website is currently off as a result of the fact that the money did not arrive destination. The bank has not been able. There was a payment a customer was making to me that has not been able to get to me, and even the bank have not been able to, reverse that payment to the customer. So you can.
We take you to the southern part of Africa to tell you that the city of Cape Town has called on political parties to abide by the rules of the Independent Electoral Commission when posting their election campaign posters. The city said parties were only allowed to attach one election campaign poster per street poll. The city of Cape Town's bylaws also prohibits the display of posters along freeways. Political parties are not allowed to attach posters at bus stops, traffic lights, or on electricity distribution boxes. The offending political party will be notified by the city of such contravention by email and will be given 48 hours to remove or remedy the contravention. The city of Cape Town also encourages residents to report any transgression. We'll now go on another short break. When we return, we'll bring you the rest of the stories. Don't go away. But I'll tell you that the European Union and Egypt have signed a 7.4 billion euro financial package to support the North African country, boost energy sales to Europe, and stem irregular migrant flows. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was joined in Cairo by leaders of Austria, Belgium, Cyprus, Greece, and Italy for the signing ceremony with Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The strategic partnership deal includes billions in credit over coming years and stepping up gas and other energy flows to help Europe move further away from Russian gas.
And today marks a historic milestone. With the signature of our joint declaration for a strategic and comprehensive partnership, and given your political and economic weight, as well as your strategic location in a very troubled neighborhood, the importance of our relations will only increase over time. And we are also very concerned about the risks a full-scale offensive in Rafah would have on the vulnerable civilian population. This needs to be avoided at all costs.
Egypt plays an important role in fighting human trafficking and in fighting the smugglers' network. The EU will assist Egypt in coping with this challenge and working together to fight the root causes of irregular migration.
From other continents, we'll tell you that the Palestinian government has criticized widespread support of the much talked about Rafah offensive by Israeli citizens, saying it is an attempt to commit genocide by Israeli forces. The Palestinian ambassador to Nigeria also condemned the silence and inaction of world leaders, saying Israeli authorities have continued to commit war crimes while the world sits down and does nothing. The ambassador, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, says that over 31,000 residents of Gaza have been killed, with another 73,000 injured and many more still buried under the rubble following continued offensive by Israeli forces against residents of Gaza.
The Israeli Jewish society is degrading into more radical and extremism, while the entire world stands against the invasion of Rafah. 75% of the Israeli Jewish are supporting this war crime. A new poll found that around three-quarters of the Jewish Israelis support an expansion of IDF operation in Gaza, southernmost city of Rafah, where more than half of the strip, 2.3 million people, are sheltering in the area amid of ongoing war. There have been 31,272 murder and 73,024 injured, with 72% being children and women. More than 8,000 are still missing under the rubble, and in many cases Israel prevents the rescue teams from reaching them.
Away from that, the United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, says the situation in Syria now is extremely difficult following a meeting with Syria's Foreign Minister Faisal al-Mikdad in the capital, Damascus. According to a war monitor, Syria's war has killed more than 507,000 people ahead of the 13th anniversary of the conflict, which has displaced millions at home and abroad. More than 343,000 combatants, including soldiers, fighters from pro-Iran groups, Kurdish-led forces, and Islamic State group jihadists, are also among the dead. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has gradually clawed back territory lost early in the fighting with help from allies like Iran and Russia, but large swaths of the north remain outside government control.
All indicators are pointing in the wrong direction when it comes to security, when it comes to the economy, and when it comes to the political process. United Nations, we will continue to work on increasing the funding, but we all know that to be able to get away from both the security challenge, the economic challenge, we need progress on the political front. And I'm afraid I have nothing new to report to you on that. You have heard my proposal when it comes to the Constitutional Committee. I repeated that today to Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad.
At this time, we now join the business desk for business stories.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam expresses confidence in bolstering collaboration with the International Monetary Fund to fortify Ghana's economic resilience and drive sustainable and inclusive growth. Welcoming IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva to Ghana, Dr. Adam anticipates bilateral discussions towards this goal. Georgieva's visit includes meetings with top Ghanaian officials focusing on strengthening collaboration within the ongoing IMF program. Additionally, she engages with influential Ghanaian women and civil society leaders, highlighting IMF's commitment to inclusive growth. Georgieva will participate in the Accra AI Conference, exploring AI's role in Ghana's economic development. Ghana's IMF program aims to address COVID-19-induced vulnerabilities and foster fiscal management, economic resilience, and inclusive growth for a prosperous nation. Gbenga Komolafe, the NUPRC head, highlights successes in Nigeria's oil sector, citing 51 approved field development plans expected to attract $17.64 billion investment and yield 2.12 billion barrels of oil and 13.13 trillion cubic feet of gas over 5 years. Additionally, $2.5 billion investment in 175 wells drilling and $2.68 billion in 842 well workovers are anticipated. Despite current oil production averaging 1.33 barrels per day, technical potential stands at 2.26 million barrels per day, offering investment opportunities. Komolafe emphasizes collaboration with international oil companies for deep offshore asset development and ongoing licensing rounds to boost reserves, production, and national revenue under PIA regulations. Chinese President Xi Jinping pledges support for Chinese firms investing in Angola's agriculture and manufacturing sectors to aid the nation's economic diversification. The move comes as Angola seeks to reduce reliance on oil revenue. President Xi emphasizes cooperation in key infrastructure projects and economic modernization. China holds significant investments in Angola, with Luanda owing Chinese creditors nearly $21 billion. The upgrade of bilateral ties to a comprehensive strategic cooperation partnership aims to enhance trade and investment between the two nations. Angola's economic reforms aim to offset oil dependency, as highlighted by IMF concerns over growth targets amidst oil sector decline. And finally, Kenya's export earnings from other African countries have surpassed import expenditure by a record 164.04 billion Kenyan shillings in 2023, boosting government efforts towards continental market integration. Goods sold to other African nations totaled 431.89 billion Kenyan shillings, growing 22.99% from the previous year. Meanwhile, import spending remained flat at 267.86 billion Kenyan shillings. President William Ruto advocates for the removal of trade barriers and adoption of intra-African trade settlement in national currencies. Uganda emerged as Kenya's largest market, with exports exceeding 100 billion shillings for the first time. Trade with Tanzania and the Democratic Republic of the Congo also saw significant growth, driven by demand for various goods. And that's our offering on business news at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
In sports, Super Eagles and AC Milan forward Samuel Chukwueze scores first Serie A goal of the season. Let's now join Favor Itwa for more.
In sport, goals by Godwin Obaje in the 37th minute and Kingsley Madufuro in the 48th ensured that Enugu Rangers came out victorious against Lobby Stars at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu. Despite the loss, Lobby Stars still remain top of the table with 46 points. Meanwhile, Enugu Rangers are second, just behind Lobby Stars with 45 points. In Lagos, Sporting Lagos handed a 2-0 defeat to visiting Kwara United, while in Aba, Eyimba won 3-1 against Niger Tornadoes. At the Samuel Ogbomida Stadium in Benin City, Benin Insurance of Benin won against Doma United 4 goals to nothing. Away from there, now to Europe, where Super Eagles winger Samuel Chukwueze finally opened a Serie A account for AC Milan as he closed off a 3-1 result against Verona, displacing Juventus, who were held to a draw by Genoa. Still talking football, substitute Kani Chukwuemeka and Noni Madueke snatched victory for the Chelsea side against Leicester City at the end of a dramatic second half at Stamford Bridge. The hosts led comfortably at 2-0 until Axel Disasi scored an own goal from 35 yards out to lead Leicester back into the tie in the 51st minute. Steffi Mavididi then coiled in a superb equalizer 11 minutes later after he took Madueke's long-range strike to seal the win for Chelsea. With Chelsea progressing into the FA Cup semi-finals, the Blues will now host Burnley in the Premier League after the international break on the 30th of March 2024. And to wrap up sports updates, Slovakia and 7-time Tour de France green jersey winner Peter Sagan has been forced to take another break away from training and will undergo another round of heart surgery over the coming week. The news will come as a blow to Sagan's hope of competing in the summer Paris Olympic Games, which was always going to be a long shot with the amount of points needed to acquire for Slovakia over the next few months seeming out of reach. Sagan, who was discharged from hospital and cleared for a return to training just a little over a week from his procedure, will see his comeback shortened. He planned to bring down the curtain on a 14-year career after the Games and a season on the mountain bike circuit. Speedy recovery to Peter Sagan. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. I'm Favor Itwa.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we take a look at some of our top stories. President Tinubu has vowed that killers of soldiers in Delta State will not go unpunished. SANU, NASU to begin nationwide strike on Monday. Finally, we told you that EU, Egypt have signed a 7.4 billion euro deal focused on energy migration. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Obanjo.